Today's episode is brought to you by DNA Sports Training. If you or someone you know want to take their game to the next level, then hit up DNA Sports Training. Visit DNASportsDenver.com to book a training session. We offer specialized sports training from football to track and field and everything else in between. Whether you're an offensive or defensive lineman wanting to get better off the ball, or you're an athlete wanting to improve your speed and agility, we have something for you over at DNA. Visit DNASportsDenver.com now and sign up.
Yo.
And we're back.
Back again for the first time. What up, brother?
What up, man? How's it going?
Man, it's been fast-paced and man, it's been a week, bro.
Yeah, it's been a busy one, man. It's a good thing. Being busy is good, but it's been a little bit little fast-paced and hectic, but
it's been enjoyable, man. Working some of the training we've done, coaching, football season starting, so these kids are getting out on the field and getting ready to put that work in. So it's been good, man. I've been excited. Shout out to everyone that's tuning in, everyone that's tuned in. If you missed the episode last week, make sure you go tune into that episode, man. That was a great episode with our boy Elias Zarate. We talked a lot of things, but touched on some serious topics. So make sure you go check it out.
We definitely got to have Elias back on the podcast to go in a little more depth into some of our conversation, because that was definitely a good episode. If you haven't listened to it, make sure you go check it out. Like Coach said,
I thought the conversation after the conversation was fantastic.
Oh, man. Yeah, too bad we didn't have it rolling.
Dude, that kid was very insightful on some things. Definitely was great to hear that is where his mindset's at and where some of his focus is at, man. It was definitely a very good conversation afterwards and very enlightening to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely brought some attention to things that I maybe need to do as a coach a little bit more and make sure we following up with some of these kids, because you never know just some of the stuff that they got going on. So shout out to Elias, though, man. Shout out to all our kids going back to camp this week, man. We got a whole bunch of kids that we've been able to coach over the years that are either going back to camp or going to camp for the first time. So it's super exciting to see. For sure. There's a list of them. We can name them later. We'll name them later, but they know they are, man. Shout out to you guys, man. Shout out to your parents, because I mean, as a father myself, I know that would be when I took my oldest son to CSU just for regular school. It was a proud daddy moment. So I know some of these fathers are just enjoying that and relishing in that. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to everyone that's listening, everyone that has listened, people that are interacting on our socials, hitting the mailbag. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you visit DNASportsDenver.com, purchase some merchandise, set up a training session, download the podcast. Everything happens there.
Yep. And follow, like, subscribe everywhere. YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Yeah. Find us wherever we're at, wherever you're at. Follow and subscribe.
We're pushing some good numbers, but your best way to help us is by doing all that, making sure you're subscribing with us, making sure you're following us and liking us and interacting with us online. That really does the most for us. So please, we encourage you to continue to do so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. It was really, really fun experience yesterday at the bazaar. We ran into you at the bazaar too, right? We were running into everybody. It was a fun time to let my hair down a little bit, you know what I mean, and enjoy myself and enjoy the festivities with some good people. It was a good time, man.
Got rained on. It's funny. I love going to the bazaars. I think Holy Family Bazaar is probably my favorite bazaar, because I always run into the most people that I grew up with and used to know around the neighborhood and whatnot. And I remember they used to have the Holy Family Bazaar like right after 4th of July.
Yeah.
And it would always just dump. It always rain, be some crazy storms. So they pushed it back to August. And I think this year was like the second year that it's been in August. And sure as crap, man, freaking sky opened up and started pouring, dude. But it was a good time, man. It was great seeing you and fam out there. It's great seeing some of the other folks out there. We ran into coaches. We ran into just everybody, man. It's
players, coaches, everything.
Always a good time. Shout out to Holy Family for the great event that they always put on. Yo, it's been a wild week, like we said, Dom. A lot of crazy stories in the news. Mm-hmm. This is kind of another little segment that I want to introduce, and it's just like what's going on, you know, and it's just a series, a handful of stories. We won't dive too much of them. Sometimes we'll follow up on stories with them, but I kind of wanted to touch base on this one. The first one I had was, did you know Aaron Rodgers, credits psychedelics for his back-to-back MVP campaigns, bro?
Hey, I didn't, but it's
Yo, so he said that he revealed in the podcast, because he's on the Pat McAfee show all the time, and he revealed on the podcast that he experienced with plant-based psychedelic ayahuasca in Peru, and it helped him to his best NFL seasons, which resulted in MVP awards in 2020 and 2021.
That's crazy.
Says he doesn't think it's a coincidence that he was that he had his best seasons after that experience. And sorry, that was during the Aubrey Marcus podcast on Wednesday. So let me correct that off the bat right there.
Yeah.
But
that's funny, man. Can you imagine? I mean, if you ever dabbled in anything yourself, you know what the experiences are like, and just doing that on the field, man, that's crazy, bro. Like,
it's there. So here living here in Colorado, there's a lot of things that are legal and there's a lot of things that aren't, and they've been dabbling in psilocybin and kind of understanding some of the effects it does for PTSD and just for some of that stuff. So on a microdose level, and then I've read a lot about the same thing with ayahuasca. It's kind of like DMT, and there's supposed to be some sort of benefits, but I think it's also what's missed here is it's in a controlled environment, kind of under the guidance of somebody else, and it's not just I'm gonna dose up and see what happens, dog. But you think back like to Doc Ellis, he allegedly threw a no-hitter on LSD, and he said that when he was throwing the ball, he can see the laces just spinning, and he can watch the laces slow down, dude. And
hey, some of the greatest musicians, some of the greatest music you listen to is produced on something.
So he basically said that he didn't really think it was a coincidence at that point. It's the universe bringing things to happen, and they're supposed to happen. But I think it's crazy, that he's coming out and talking about it just based off how the NFL treats some things. But he is Aaron Rodgers, so maybe he does have a little bit of leeway, and maybe it's a good thing for these athletes to talk about stuff like this, because mentioning earlier the research that goes on psilocybin, and maybe they can open the door to kind of look into some of these things and see how true it is and how helpful it is. I mean, it's like anything else, bro. Like what's good for you isn't necessarily good for me all the time.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But I just thought that was interesting. Another one is Brittany Griner sentenced this week.
I think it was kind of part of the plan. We talked about it last time.
Yeah.
And it's going to hopefully expedite the process a little bit, and maybe she'll, be back in the States in no time. But we'll
9 years, dude.
It's crazy.
9 years, and we're talking about Aaron Rodgers eating hallucinogens and psychedelics, and she's getting 9 years for cannabis, bro.
Yeah.
And it's wild, and it just, Russia denies that it's anything political and that they're just trying to, live by their rules and by their laws, but we know that's BS, bro.
Yeah.
I just think it's wild, dude, that anybody can do that much time. And I also think it's wild that, I think we should be fighting to bring her home. And now that this has happened, it speeds up the process and makes things happen a little quicker. But I also think it's wild that we have people serving prison sentences here in America for cannabis for, just as much time, bro. And
that's what this should do. If anything, when we get her back or whatever transpires with this whole situation, we should really open our eyes up and say, look at our own selves in the mirror and start maybe releasing some of these people that have been locked up for years,
or at least put in plan
for cannabis, and now it's legal in most states. So if they've served a certain amount of their sentence, then maybe they're
not only is it legal in certain states, but it's certain states and overall in the country it's a $1 billion industry.
Yeah,
and you got people that are serving nonviolent sentences for cannabis, for something that we're sentenced to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when the laws weren't even the same, bro. So I think it's wild. I think some of that stuff, if you're bringing hundreds of pounds, okay, maybe we can, maybe they can revisit on how to rehab and get you back into society, because I think it's crazy that we're making billions off of a plant, and yet at the same time people are serving years behind bars for the same thing. It's just kind of contradictory, bro, and it's nothing good.
That's for sure.
So like we said, 9 years. Hopefully this speeds up the process to bring Brittany back home, and we can turn this into a non-story and kind of move past it. I know that's best for her and her family. I know that's best for us. And you know what? If we have to give up a Russian to get a couple Americans, well, let's do it, bro.
Yeah.
Stop dragging our feet.
We got to be smart about that though too, and make sure it's, we're not releasing somebody who's going to be a threat to us later on.
No, I changed my mind. We're not releasing her.
Yeah,
we're going to keep her. Give us another Russian.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, dude. And also, yeah, like you said, I think he's an arms dealer is the dude that they want.
That's what I mean. So,
but I mean, was he selling arms or was he like selling a pistol or two, and that's the way to lock him up? Yeah, because sometimes they find little things to lock you up on to get the bigger things, right?
You know what it's about, man. Her celebrity, right, and who she is, and all the attention she gets. Russia knows because of that is why we want to.
Oh, because isn't there another dude we're trying to get back with her at the same time too? Yeah. So you don't hear much about him. I don't even know his name. It goes to show you, last of my little bag of tricks here, my trifecta of just stories that are going on, and this one kind of hits home a little bit because I am a Miami Dolphin fan. I'm kind of born and raised. Anymore nowadays, I just like football. I love football and love watching it, so I don't necessarily have a particular team that I have to root for. Mm-hmm. But the NFL stripped the Miami Dolphins of a 2023 first-round pick. They fined owner Stephen Ross $1.5 million for tampering. And suspended him through October for tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton.
Hey, if you can't beat them, you got to join them. Yeah, buy them.
If you can't beat them, buy them.
Yeah, so, I don't – sometimes, there's rules in place for a reason, and you got to respect rules. And so they're going to take their fines and their suspension, and they're going to do what they have to do. But at the end of the day, we know the game, and we know that everybody's trying to get better at any given moment.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
If, it goes back to the old saying, a closed mouth doesn't get fed. You know what I mean? So if you're sitting down and you see Tom Brady and there's opportunity for him to land up on your roster, then why not shoot your shot,
Yeah, man. And especially when they read the writing on the wall with New England, they knew where he wasn't going to be back. So, he's been whooping their ass for so many years. Yeah. You might as well go grab him. Yeah. And then the same thing goes with Sean Payton. I mean, he didn't whoop their ass a bunch, but he's probably the best coach out there. Yeah. On the market that has experience, has the ring with it.
Yep, Super Bowl coach.
And he wasn't going to be with New Orleans that much longer. So
and he has a Netflix movie based off of him. He's doing big things.
Kevin James, shout out. So following a 6-month investigation, the league found the Dolphins, primarily team owner Steve Ross and vice chairman limited partner Bruce Beal, violated the anti-tampering policy on 3 occasions from 2019 to 2022 in conversations with quarterback Tom Brady and the agent for then New Orleans Saints coach Sean Payton. This is all part of the stuff that came out from Brian Flores when he had his lawsuit alleging that Stephen Ross was going to pay him $100,000 each game he lost. The NFL didn't find any evidence that the team intentionally lost games during the 2019 season. So there's that, I guess, but it just goes. It's a long line of things for Stephen Ross, man. And being a Dolphins fan, I've never really been a big fan of Stephen Ross.
Yeah.
Ownership for Miami's always seemed like it's just, I'm rich and I have some money. Let's buy a team.
You're in Miami.
Yeah. Let's own the hottest thing going. So they've never, in my opinion, they've never really been supportive of a lot of that stuff. So I don't know, man. 1.5 million. When you make billions and your team's worth billions, what's 1.5 million?
Yep, that's true. But to protect the integrity of the league and the integrity of the game, it's right that they got.
Oh, absolutely.
Got what they did,
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, we want competitive football.
And you can't be paying people to lose. You can't be paying your coaches to intentionally lose the game, dude. Like, that affects everything. Like you said, the integrity of the game. But also, I mean, do you want players that want to intentionally lose? Do you want coaches that want to intentionally lose? I mean, that sets up an atmosphere and just an overall just acceptance to losing, bro.
Yeah, you're right. It's just, a bad bad behavior, you know what I mean? Like, it's a trend. You start to see, like, the teams that get caught doing things, it's funny how you see one thing happen, then all of a sudden another thing happens.
Yeah, where there's smoke, there's fire, bud.
Yeah, like, it was the Patriots, now it's the Dolphins.
So, Dom, football's back, bro.
It is.
Had the Hall of Fame game last night. The induction yesterday.
Yep, it was a great game. It wasn't too exciting, but we got the dub. We put it on them. It was nice to see the Raiders get that dub.
It's so hard with preseason anymore because you don't see anybody, bro. There's nobody that plays preseason games.
Josh Jacobs played. the Jaguars defense, starting defense was playing for a while. We had our starting offensive line. So that was stuff that we, as coaches,
True that.
We seen.
Learn a little bit.
But, man, I just wanted them to put Carr and Adams in for one series and just toss it down the field and let them score a touchdown. But
I think you have to wait till the regular season to see that, dude.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait.
I don't think that's something they're gonna bust out during the preseason. To be honest with you, man, that's gonna be the duel, bro. That's gonna be one hell of a pair. They were putting up their stats on I think on Instagram. I seen their stats from college, and just with the two of them together, they were dynamic in college. So it's interesting to see if they could pick up where they left off. But going back to the Hall of Fame game, though. Sorry, go ahead.
What do you think about the class, man?
I wasn't upset with it. Like, it was kind of a down class, you know, but there were some beasts in there, bro. I mean, Richard Seymour was that dude for a long time, bro, especially in New England. He's got rings, you know, you can't argue with some of the stuff that he did, and he was one of the premier defensive linemen for his time. Tony Boselli was probably, you know, the best offensive tackle during his time, a legend. Here also locally, bro, like, you know, from Boulder, I believe, and owns a bunch of McDonald's. You can't go, you know, you see his name everywhere, but he was an elite the offensive tackle. And it was funny, I was watching old video because they're talking, you know, these guys that are going to the Hall of Fame, they start talking about him a little bit more, and they were sharing the video of the I think it was like the divisional playoff game against Buffalo, and it was the 96 season, and he was shutting down Bruce Smith, which is arguably the all-time best defensive end. He's got the sack record for all career sacks, and that was in the height of his career at Buffalo, where he was really just he tormented quarterbacks, and Tony Boselli shut him down. And it was wild to see. He
was definitely you know, deserving of getting into the Hall of Fame.
Took a little while.
Line. It took a while, but you know, he got his bust and he got his jacket, and he deserves it. You know, Richard Seymour, you talked about him. You know, he was a Raider as well. He finished his career with the Raiders, and, man, 57 half sacks, 326 solo tackles, 4 forced fumbles, 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Super Bowl champ, 3 times All-Pro. You know, he's a tremendous, tremendous career for him. Great guy. His speech was pretty good, you know.
Was this his first time on the ballot, or is this his second year?
I think this is his second year on the ballot. Then you also have a guy, you know, who in my opinion, should have been in there a long time ago, in Cliff Branch, man. Like, you got guys like Tyreek Hill, right, who could take the top off of defense, Marquise Brown. Well, this is the guy who did it originally. You know, 4-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, 3-time Super Bowl champions, you know, 8,685 receiving yards, 67 total touchdowns, you know. He was just a nightmare for teams, and you know, when the Raiders were really good and dominant in their era, he was one of the reasons why. So, you know, I'm glad to see him finally get in there. You know, it's a little long overdue, but
sometimes you get stuck behind dudes that are just, you know, it's hard to compare generations, but sometimes you get stuck behind people that are just them dudes, you know, and you have to kind of wait your turn. And I don't know, I think if you ask any of these guys, like, it was well worth the wait for them, you know, and they're super excited to be there. Sam Mills, you know, linebacker who was just a beast of a linebacker. You know, Leroy Butler, who was just a tormentful safety, Super Bowl champion, amongst the best of his time. The one that got me, bro, the one that really moved me was Bryant Young's speech. That thing moved me to tears, man. Having lost his son to cancer when his son was like 15 years old, and just hearing him talk about his son really hit home. You know, my situation with my older son, and knowing where we've been through with that, and just we didn't lose our son, and we were able to keep him, and he's still here with us today. So I just couldn't imagine the agony as being a father to having lose your son to something you can't control, man, like that. And so his speech really hit home. Well-deserved on his end, too. The only one I had a little bit of holdback out, and I don't even think it's that I necessarily disagree that he should be Hall of Famer, but I had a little trouble with Dick Vermeil.
Really?
Well, compared to some of the other coaches out there that should be in there, Mike Shanahan's got more rings than he does. More winning seasons. You know, maybe some would argue his innovations in West Coast offense back in his San Francisco days, and you know, his brief moment with the Raiders, and then coming into Denver and really turning around a Broncos franchise and a quarterback in John Elway that was said he can get you the big game, but he can't win it. You know, and really bringing in that offense.
Shanahan definitely deserves to get in there. You know, playing in the same division with that guy, you know, he dominated for a long time. You know, them 98 Broncos, man, that was one hell of a team, and he put that team together, and, you know, he had a great staff underneath him. I don't know how many of his coaches are out there doing their thing. His son is in the league.
The branches of his tree, when he was in Washington, like he had McVay, he had his son, obviously, LaFleur. What's the coach up in Cincinnati? Drawing a blank on his name, but all them guys were under the same staff over in Washington. So his branch, you know, his coaching branch is it rivals those of you know, Parcells. It rivals those of like Bill Walsh, you know, and he comes from that Walsh tree. So,
you know, I wasn't like disappointed in this class, you know what I mean? But there were a few guys that should have made this class, in my opinion. You know, you got Devin Hester. Man, in my opinion, Devin Hester was...
That guy, yeah, I agree.
He was, you know, him and Dante Hall were like just tremendous kick returners, you know, and the fact that Devin Hester, the one who really put his stamp on returning the football.
He changed the NFL. Game. He changed the NFL during his tenure in the NFL, bro. There was times where Chicago wouldn't have nothing going, and then Hester would return a punt or return a kickoff to the house, bro, and it would change the game. And
14 touchdowns via punt returns.
That's incredible. 14?
That's crazy, bro. 14
just
touchdowns.
Punt returns.
20 non-offensive scores.
Good Lord.
That's crazy,
and
bro.
He didn't play that long either.
He had 14 punts, 5 kickoffs, and 1 missed field goal return for a touchdown. You remember?
I remember that one.
That one was special.
It came up a little short, right?
Yep, and he took it all the way to the house. Man, it was just, when you watched football, you made sure that you wanted to watch Devin Hester. You know what I mean? If the Bears were on, you're checking them out, bro, because that dude was just phenomenal. He should have made this list, in my opinion.
I was a big fan of the University of Miami, bro, and watching some old highlight videos of Devin Hester at the University of Miami and seeing him just take the ball and go, bro, and it was wild because it was a man amongst boys, you know, every time he touched the ball, and it translated to the NFL in the same way, like you said, to the tune of 20 non-offensive touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's incredible, man. Yeah. There's not many defensive guys that got that many touchdowns. So shout out Devin Hester. I do agree. He should be in that Hall of Fame, and I think he should be in there next year.
He will be.
If he doesn't, dude, it's really an injustice. I get that he wasn't an offensive impactful player or a defensive impactful player, but I mean, damn it, he was a game changer, and he changed the NFL.
Yeah, DeMarcus Ware too, man. DeMarcus Ware, in my opinion, should also have gotten. I mean, when you have 138 and a half career sacks in 12 seasons, that's crazy, bro.
Well, and there's some really good players that got left off the final list. You know, Jared Allen, Zach Thomas, like as you mentioned, DeMarcus Ware, Patrick Willis, which, you know, he cut his own career short.
Yeah,
he had that injury, came back, and then was like, you know what, I'm done. And you know, shout out to him. You know, sometimes you just, you know, when you're done. Reggie Wayne, Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson. The receivers are loaded, so it's going to be hard to get in. You can argue Sam Mills over Zach Thomas, and so that's why, you know, Mills got in before Thomas. I think Thomas is definitely a surefire Hall of Famer, former Miami Dolphin, and that guy used to just bring it every down, every play, every game. Didn't matter what the record was, didn't matter what the score was or who they were facing. So
those years with the Dolphins were some good ones defensively, man. You love to see
him and Jason Taylor.
Oh my God, dominating on the field, dude.
For sure.
It was really special to watch them two guys. So yeah, I think he'll be in as well soon.
Man, we'll see. Yo, so I just want to give a shout out real quickly to our boy Christian over at Black Sevens. If you guys need any kind of graphic design work, hit up black7s.com. Christian's a beast at what he does, and he definitely helped us out with the DNA logo. Dom went to him with the idea, said, hey, this is what we want to do. Can you do it? And not only did he do it, but he knocked the thing out the park. Yeah. So big shout out to Christian at Black Sevens. Visit black7s.com. Make sure you go and check out what he's got going on with him, and make sure you go and get in touch with him if you're trying to do something, trying to launch something, because he definitely is business savvy and he knows what he's doing.
Yep, he definitely is. Shout out to Christian. Hey, man, there's a topic that, you know, I want to touch base on because, you know, we were at the bazaar last night, and before we kind of pre-gamed it up at a friend's house, and I was talking to a couple people there, and we had a conversation that is talked about a lot, but in my opinion, not talked about enough. You know what I mean? And I just want to kind of touch base a little bit, get your opinion on it. The lack of pay for the teachers versus the situations they face. You know, I think teachers are very, very underpaid for the positions that they hold. You know, sometimes they're in scary situations and school shootings. You know, they have to deal with some troubled kids at times in troubled situations. And, you know, they also are social workers, you know, and they're really, really important figures in all of our children's lives, and there's so much money in education, but not enough of it's getting distributed to the teachers. And it's just a shame to see all these teachers out there, you know, working their tails off to you know, better the future of our education, and we're not doing anything to reward them. And it's kind of sad, man, to see that we don't really appreciate them and value them where they should be valued, you know.
Yeah, man, there's definitely some really good teachers out there. There's also some bad ones, and I think they kind of weed themselves out. And I don't even know if bad's the right word for it. I think, you know, it's a stressful job, dude, and it's a thankless job. They deal with a lot of crap, not only from just like having to deal with the kids and their needs, but they also have administration that kind of, you know, pushes what they want from them, from the school and from the district. And then they got parents that, you know, I'm a parent, you're a parent. Sometimes we can be a little much. I try to keep myself in check because and try to think and understand that, you know, they're doing their job and they're trying to, but at the same time, sometimes my emotions don't stay in check. So I definitely agree that I don't think they do get paid enough for some of the stuff they do. I think we've got plenty of money for some things. Why can't we just kind of funnel that into maybe investing in them? It doesn't, you know, I think people think more money means like more salary, which they probably should get some more money in salary, but they also need more support.
Yeah.
Like I know teachers that buy
school supplies.
Yeah, dude.
They shouldn't be coming out of their own pockets for anything that goes into the school, man. It's just crazy.
They come out of pocket so much for things they need in their classroom, and it's kind of ridiculous that it goes to that length, right? And, you know, I'm sure we can find funding for it. We find funding for everything. We find funding for wars overseas. We find funding to give to countries, and, you know, it's an investment in ourselves, to be honest with you. Like when you invest in your at your country's education, like you're investing in yourself, dude. There's a reason why some of these countries are starting to move up and try to pass us in everything that we do. And it's because that, you know, they've invested into their education. They've invested in themselves. And we need to start doing the same thing, bro. Shout out to teachers because they do put up with a lot. And I know a lot of them that are right now that are stressed out, bro, because of, you know, everything with COVID and everything that they've dealt with the last 2 years being a teacher, trying to be a teacher, an online teacher, you know, a PA worker, you know what I mean? Trying to get the technology right. Like, it's wild, dude.
Well, then, and then it's a slap in the face to see, you know, you go to the district or whatever in corporate offices and you see everybody, all the bigwigs of these school districts pulling up in Teslas and, you know, all these fancy cars. They live in these big homes and they have these outrageous salaries. And what are they really doing for the kids? Yeah, man. You know, the teachers are the ones on the front line risking their lives in some situations.
Well, nowadays, like especially with as many kids coming in trying to do stupid shit, you know, it really is risking their lives.
Yeah, man. I just hope that, you know, eventually we start to value people for who they are, what they do in their profession, and really compensate them right. You know what I mean? Like, money makes the world go round, right? But I don't understand if we produce our own currency.
That's right.
Why can't we up people's salaries?
Well, and it's not
because, you know, if the more money you give people, they're going to turn around and spend the money anyway. So it's going to continue to grow the cycle. It's going to still, you know, everything's going to keep moving. If people have more money, they spend more money.
Honestly, bro, like in my opinion, it's oversight. You know, we send millions and millions of dollars to education, but where's the money actually going? You talk about administrators that maybe take a little bit too much off the top. Why we got so many administrators? You know, why do we got so many people doing one job? Why do we got so many people overseeing one school? You know, I won't get too deep into it, but having known some people that work behind the scenes like that, like there's a lot of waste that goes into it. You hear from teachers, you hear from principals. There's a lot of waste that goes into education and just the lack of oversight where, you know, for marijuana industry sending $40 million. right? To education. You know, it always makes me uneasy when people say like give more money to these programs, because I agree they need more money, but at the same time, like if they've been stacking money and there's no oversight and we're not seeing where this money's going, like we might just be lining somebody's pocket so they can buy the next new Tesla, you know? And
while the teachers still stay
while
underpaid.
the teachers still struggle, still having to go buy school supplies for their students, and
schools are still ran down.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're definitely right. There is that aspect of it. What you give them, are they putting it forth? Are they paying it forward? Are they applying the money? Where does the money allocated to? You know, there's always those questions, and it's a shame that we have people in positions that operate in such a way. You know what I mean? Like how money, greed, you know, really can deter people from doing what's right.
Well, and it becomes one of those things where like we got to spend all this money, right? But we can't spend it here. We got to hide some of this, or we got to do this with it so that we can make sure we get our budgets. Like, I don't know, man. It's wild to me, and it's foreign to me, and I sound like a broken record, but it's wild and foreign that a teacher has to buy their own school supplies. They have to provide, you know, their snacks for their class, or they have to provide this, that, and the other for their class. Whereas school districts just have all this, you know, they have money, bro. Like they have money.
Yeah.
But, you know, where's it at?
Yeah, definitely. So pay those teachers, man. They're working hard. Just help them out. Buy supplies, stock up your schools, you know, make their job easier. They'll be better teachers if you supply them with the proper tools. A man or a woman is only as good as the tools that they're given. So, you know, support them in whatever they need. If they want to venture off and do, you know, an exhibition or whatever the case may be for their class, then support them in doing that, as long as it's doing some positive for the kids.
It's like, remember we used to go on field trips all the time in school?
Yeah.
My son, they don't hardly ever go on field trips, man. Like, I don't hear a lot about field trips unless you go to, there's some schools like some charter schools and some kind of independent schools that do their thing and they have a blast. And, you know, we used to have a couple of students like I used to coach that went to Denver Montessori, and they used to go to like Costa Rica in March for like a week or whatever, you know, but I just feel like there was more trips. There was more just things to do when you were in school, man. They kept you engaged, and now it just kind of seems, you know,
they don't want you there.
Classes are overpopulated. You know, they're understaffed. It's like anything else in the world right now, bro. They're understaffed and overworked. Yeah. So I don't know. Shout out to teachers. Let's figure out a way to make our teachers happy. You know, happy teacher is going to be a happy employee, is going to be a happy, you know, they're going to give your kid a proper education. Let's support them in everything, including some of their concerns with safety, you know, some of their concerns with, you know, the recent rash of school shootings. And, you know, it's going to, unfortunately, it's something that's going to happen, and it doesn't need to, because we have plenty of money to do it. When these Supreme Court justices started having people show up at their house protesting, started showing up with guns, they automatically armed them up, secured them, and took care of them, right?
Yep.
Well, why the hell can't we do that at the schools?
Yeah.
Why the hell can't we give them the peace of mind so that they can sit there and teach and be like, okay, I don't have to worry about someone coming through this front door and blasting me, because, you know, we have the proper security around us. We have the proper infrastructure to take care of us and make sure that we're safe. And it's also, we have the confidence to teach what we're teaching because we have everything we need to make it happen.
Yeah, definitely, man. We got to do what's right. You know, there's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things, and we just got to do what's right by the people who are out there working. You know, we can't be mistreating people or any kind of misconduct, you know. Speaking of misconduct,
bro, this next one, we save this one for last just because it's going to be a little bit of a doozy of a story in terms of length. Super serious. It's been going on for the last couple of years, but the NFL finally dropped the hammer on a suspension for Deshaun Watson. The now Cleveland Browns quarterback will serve a 6-game suspension without pay, but will not be fined for violating the league's personal conduct policy following accusations of sexual misconduct. Disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson ruled on Monday. Robinson issued her ruling in a comprehensive 16-page report. She wrote that the NFL recommended Watson be suspended for the entire 2022 regular season and postseason. Let's go through the report a little bit, Dom. And I'm sorry, this is doing this research, man. Reading this report just completely floored me.
Yeah.
It's good to hear the NFL did 1 a year. Unfortunately, that wasn't because of precedent set earlier. That's not the case. But first of all, of the 24 therapists suing Watson, NFL investigators were only able to interview 12. Of the 12, the NFL relied on the testimony of 4 therapists, as well as some 37 other third parties and substantial documentary evidence. Despite having team-provided and approved massage therapists, Mr. Watson sought out private massages and, according to the NFL, used his status as an NFL player as a pretext to engage in a premeditated pattern of predatory behavior towards multiple women.
It's crazy.
He was not looking for a professional setting, and he often inquired as to whether the masseuse would work in private. He used Instagram with text or calls before each session to make sure the therapists were comfortable massaging certain areas of his body, particularly his lower back, glutes, abs, and groin area. He called those his focus points. He asked therapists to use a towel to cover his privates, opposed to the typical sheet that they would use. He often provided his own towels. They were described as medium or small, or the Gatorade hand towels.
Yeah. Man, this dude's a predator, bro. He is a predator. He was stalking these therapists, bro, and plotting it out. He was crossing his T's and dotting his I's, but he didn't do it good enough. And they need to suspend him indefinitely, bro. Like, there's so many NFL players that get suspended for all these different things, and 6 games.
Dude, when you read this report and you see how intentional he was in finding out these women and making sure that it was all private, making sure that they were okay massaging his focus points. It's wild, dude.
Yeah, Bill Cosby, he's like a Bill Cosby. He's like a
without the roofies.
Without the roofies, bro, like crazy.
The NFL and Sue L. Robinson determined Watson committed nonviolent sexual misconduct. The situation is unprecedented, and the NFL policy dictates a 6-game suspension, although it seems like the NFL did prefer a season long, and they actually, since this came out, they actually appealed to extend the suspension to a full year. They said they couldn't impose a 6 game due to possibilities of it being challenged by the Player Association. So they couldn't impose any longer than 6 games. Theoretically, the NFL could change the policy and issue a harsher penalty for such actions, like they did in the Ray Rice case. But it kind of remains to be seen, and it kind of now that's what it looks like.
And I think Goodell, he went and chose former New Jersey Attorney General Peter C. Harvey to hear the appeal for the 6-game suspension. So they're definitely going to appeal it,
dude. So this is the most damning statement that's in that report. It says, although this is the most significant punishment ever imposed on an NFL player for allegations of nonviolent sexual misconduct, Mr. Watson's pattern of conduct is more egregious than any before reviewed by the NFL.
That says it right there.
Dude, like in 6 games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, man. I get 6 games as kind of the precedent, right? But unprecedented actions require unprecedented responses, bro. And
well, you got, it's a sore subject, and I'm not gonna say that I fully agree or fully disagree with the way Kaepernick, chose to protest and do what he did, but he's out. That ruined his career. He's out of the NFL. No NFL teams will touch him. But we got guys like this
getting $250 million guarantee contracts while these allegations hang over their head. And you mean to tell me the Browns didn't know about this? They didn't have access to any of this? Like, this is wild, dude. Like, you got a piece of shit as a quarterback.
Yep.
Excuse my French, but dude, I would not want my sister around this guy.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want none of the ladies I know, man. This guy is a predator.
Well, Vita was definitely, we were having a conversation, and she had asked me if I would let DJ idolize him and look up to Deshaun Watson, and if we ever seen Deshaun Watson, like, would I allow him to be his fan, and I told her definitely not. You have to educate him and tell him, what this guy did, who he was, and why everything he did was totally inappropriate. You have to take his stupid behavior and mistakes and turn it into a lesson to teach people that that's the wrong way to live, and you're not supposed to be allowing people to use their status in any way to get you to do anything for them or to make you feel like what they're doing is okay. It's just total BS, and in fact, if I seen Deshaun Watson in person, I'd probably have altercation with the guy, whether I win or lose, because that's just something I don't stand for.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Vita because she was the first one. I shared this meme on our Instagram, and it was like, it pointed out the inconsistencies in suspensions. Yeah. And you got like Calvin Ridley doing a 15-month suspension or something like that for gambling, and it wasn't even gambling on his team, wasn't even gambling on the NFL. He was just gambling online, betting sports, and they suspended him 15 week or months for that, and yet Deshaun Watson's going to come back after 6 games unless this thing changes. Personally, man, I agree with you, man. Indefinite suspension is probably more in tune to what I feel. And after a year, you can try to apply for reinstatement. They did that with Ricky Williams. They did that with Josh Gordon, right? Where like, hey, you're suspended, and they were just smoking weed.
Yeah, I think when you hold a position of power, right? Because that's what this is. Celebrity is power in certain cases. And you abuse that power, that right needs to be stripped away from you for good. You no longer give people like that power so he could do it again. You think that this suspension is going to change who he is? Like he obviously has some deep-rooted things that he enjoys, and that he needs to get help for. And playing in the NFL isn't going to help him by any means. Like, I think he needs to take time to figure out who he is as a person and try to figure that out and fix that before it lands him up in another situation a lot worse than this. It could have been a criminal situation and he could be getting locked up behind this,
I'm surprised it wasn't, man. I'm surprised they decided not to pursue charges, dude. This is crazy when you read this report and,
Well, it's also the problem with our justice system. Let's keep it real, man. Like we were just talking earlier, how all these people are still locked up behind legal cannabis now, and you got guys like this who are taking advantage of people and not getting any criminal charges.
Or you got guys that are committing rapes that are getting 6 months.
Yeah, or ankle bracelet or something. It's just ridiculous. Like the way we view certain crimes in America is just crazy to me.
Man, I think the NFL should do what they did in the Ray Rice case and change their policies in order to come down harsher on Deshaun Watson. I think that's what they're going to try to do. I think if they're going to appeal, and I think the NFLPA's already appealed. I think if they're not successful in their appeal to make it longer, I can see them changing their rules to try to recalibrate the situation and suspend him longer. I don't think this guy should step on the field again this year. And me personally, I don't know if he should be on the field. The quarterback's the leader of your franchise, dude. That's the face of your franchise. I'm sorry, the coach isn't it. The owner isn't it. Your quarterback is your face of your franchise. How can you feel good about bringing this dude out to lead your franchise and be the face of it? What are you saying about your franchise? What are you saying about what you value in terms of your moral compass? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's wild, dude. And it's funny to see all the memes about like this large masseuse, what is it, like an American masseuse therapy, American massage therapist annual conference going on in Cleveland. Yeah. And it's funny to see the memes, dude. The internet's undefeated, but like you said, this is a continued problem in the world we live in, where sex offenders get off easier than people who are violated marijuana or nonviolent drug laws in this country. And man, something's need to change.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something needs to change as far as these teams too. Like the Browns should have did more investigation into this, and they shouldn't just get away with just signing whoever or keeping whoever on their team. Like you said, this is the face of your franchise, and you guys haven't lifted a finger yet.
Dude, how's it going to look if this guy gets suspended? Hopefully he gets suspended for the whole year, right? And then hopefully they extend that suspension. How dumb are you going to look as a team giving $250 million to a dude, probably paying him about $90 million for the first 2 years, and he doesn't step on the field for you? How wasteful is that? And at the same time, though, man, like that's getting bread, dude. And I think his 6-game suspension is without pay, so there is that. But man, this dude, I don't know, bro. It's very frustrating. As a man that tries to do things right and just kind of understand with power comes responsibility. I think that's the old Spider-Man quote, Uncle Ben, right? With great power comes great responsibility. You're in a position where you got to be better, and you're not.
Yeah, and it's just a shame to see some athletes being held to a certain standard and then some getting away with certain things,
Yeah, because if this isn't Deshaun Watson, say this is, player number 62 on the roster, player number 52 on the roster.
Cut.
Yeah, and then you don't ever hear from him again.
Yep.
But because this is a talented quarterback, you know, and I loved Deshaun Watson's game prior to all this stuff coming out. And I know there was a lot of people that were like, bring him to Denver. And then all this stuff came out. And thankfully, these guys were like, nope, you know, don't bring him here. Yeah. Because Denver really needed a quarterback. And I think they would have brought him here. But it's one thing to have one or two people say, hey, this guy did this during the massage. It's another thing to have 24 different women come out and say the same thing, you know. And you got Instagram messages kind of, hey, make sure he wasn't inquiring whether they had licenses. And of the 4 people that they relied on the testimony, 3 of them had a license, 1 didn't. She was just working to figure out if this is what she wanted to do.
She don't want to do it anymore.
All 4 of them said that. All 4 of them said they've had struggles trying to get back to work, trying to continue on in that profession, trying to be a masseuse because, dude, he was this document got pretty grotesque into it, but he would roll over and expose his direct self to these women, bump their hand with it.
Yeah, dude. And then I heard like he was asking for like weird, crazy like baby diaper poses or whatever they call it, like weird stuff, bro. It's just like, I don't know. It's just baffling to me that someone with that much celebrity, that much money, that much, you know, and he's an athletic dude and he's a star quarterback and you're doing weird things like this. You probably have women throwing themselves at you left and right and city to city, town to town, but yet you're going to massage therapist and abusing your power and making them feel uncomfortable and making them second guess their career choice. It's just ridiculous.
Another thing that was in this report, bro, it says, finally, I find the NFL has produced sufficient circumstantial evidence to prove the last prong of the test, that Mr. Watson knew such sexualized contact was unwanted. Like, you can't read this report, bro, and feel good about having that man on the field.
Yeah.
I don't know how Roger Goodell reads that report and feels good about having that guy wear an NFL jersey, wear the NFL logo on him. It truly is. You hear that that phrase, integrity of the shield. And, you know, and I know we have Ben Roethlisberger situation out there where he was alleged twice. Yeah. And I felt he was under suspended probably too. But this, hey, we know what we know, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've learned from our mistakes of the past. You shouldn't repeat your mistakes if you've learned, right? And I'm very hopeful that the NFL is trying to make this happen where it's at least a year, if not longer. I tend to agree with you, bro, on the indefinite. If this dude doesn't play another down, I'm thankful for all the young ladies and massage therapists that are out there that have to deal with this kind of shit on a day-to-day basis from people who think just because they have a little bit of power, they can do what they want. Because, you know, Deshaun Watson ain't the only person that's done this at a massage parlor. No. Ain't the only person that's ever tried to flex their status or flex their job status or their pay to, you know.
Robert Kraft had something like this too, right?
Robert Kraft was going to.
He was crafty with it.
He was crafty at a rub and tug and had his lawyers litigate the fact that they got this surveillance video of him unlawfully. Yeah. So he got the case thrown out. And there you goes to show you got money and you got power. You can hire a good lawyer. Yeah. You know, you can get some of this stuff taken care of. I think I'm surprised that didn't happen in this Deshaun Watson case. Yeah. You know, maybe that's what happened with the.
Maybe that's why it's not criminal.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say maybe that's why he ain't facing charges. Yeah. Maybe that's why he's just facing lawsuits. He settled with a lot of the women. I'm sure the settlements come with NDAs, so we'll never know what really happened. We'll never know the full testimony. But it's just wild, man.
Does the NFL have to do something a little bit more strict to like vetting these athletes, a little bit more of the mental aspect of it? Like, do we need to start like really mentally evaluating players before they get NFL contracts? Like,
maybe, but then you get into a situation like you had with Miami asking what's the receiver out of Dallas, right? Des Bryant. Yeah. Asking him about his mom's history as a prostitute and if she's a prostitute. Like, there's a line you can't cross, man. You know, I feel like it's a hard line to cross. But I think when the red flags start appearing, though, Like, because the team provides massage therapists.
Yeah, but everybody has struggles. Everybody has as a life, you know, that was tough for them growing up and things of that nature. But like, you should be doing something to make sure that they don't have these weird fetishes.
Yeah, I guess you can vet them more, and being that you're able to vet social media a little bit more, and you know,
like, I'm not saying if you had a rough childhood or rough upbringing, you're not supposed to be in the league, because I had a rough childhood. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, like, if we have NFL players going to massage therapists and, you know, exposing themselves and violating women's space and their what they want to do and their boundaries, we should be trying to figure out and weed those people out.
I think it's just hard, man, because you want to believe the best out of everybody, right? Yeah. Especially when you're bringing these people in. They do go through a grueling process of vetting people, so I don't know. Sometimes people just expose themselves after you know, a long time. You know, like, you know, maybe he didn't have any signs of this being an issue in the past, but you know, it came up and it became something he did. Like I said, I think when he started turning down the organization provided massage therapists for his own thing, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
When he's constantly messaging these people on Instagram about focus points and making sure things are private,
that's crazy.
That's a red flag, dude. And, you know, maybe we don't want to see that. Maybe we don't want to see, you know, our star quarterback is that kind of person. Maybe we don't want to see the red flags. I know it's like that in a lot of situations. You don't want to see the red flag, but sometimes maybe we have to.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we have to. And, you know, it goes back to you having a daughter, having, you know, me having a sister and niece and, you know, women in our lives, and just being brought up to respect them better, man.
Yeah.
And do right by them better. And part of that, in the NFL really wants to do right by women. And they say all the time, there's always a campaign to try to make everything more inclusive and to do right by everybody. Here's your chance. Here's your chance to do right by everybody. Yeah. Here's your chance to make an example of somebody who shouldn't be in your league and who shouldn't play this year.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, hey, it's that time, Dom.
It's that time, man.
Dude, it's been fun. We always talk these tough topics, bro.
Yeah, that's good though, right? We gotta flirt with some of these controversial topics and bring light to certain situations, so that way, you know, they're not just ignored and everybody out there has opportunity to hear what's going on in the world, you know?
Well, and I think it's important to get the community talking.
Yep.
Get folks feeling comfortable talking. Sometimes the toughest talks are the ones you need to have the most. They're the most beneficial to you. You know, it's something we have to do. So I don't know what you think about it, but you know, this is where we're at. So shout out to Jack Armillo, Arsenal Custom Apparel. Shout out to Black Sevens. Make sure you visit the website, dnasportsdenver.com. We're going to be out here again, man. Just make sure you hit up dnasportsdenver.com/askdna if there's something you want to hear, something you want to talk about, something you want to get off your chest, have us cover. Maybe we're not doing enough to cover it, but make sure you hit us up and we can make it happen. For my partner, Coach Dom.
Hey, go check out our Instagram, man, Facebook, social media, everywhere, all the platforms. Like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. And again, book a session, man. We had 2 great sessions this weekend with some great kids. Their goals are to get better as athletes, and they're working hard, man. I have them out there working, coaches out there having kids work and doing their track stuff, and we're having a good time helping athletes. So if you're an athlete and you want to get better, go to dnasportsdenver.com and book a session today.
Yo, dnasportsdenver.com. Coach Al, Coach Dom, we out of here, man. We love y'all. Peace.
We're out.